Breaking news now. Is lobbying for increased war funding on Capitol Hill despite waning Republican support. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has returned to the United States for a quick visit to Washington in an effort to increase American support for his country. Zelensky was welcomed to the Capitol on Thursday by House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. Zelensky will meet with Republican and Democratic leaders behind closed doors on Capitol Hill. Republicans will question the funding of Zelensky's war effort by the United States, which has kept his troops fighting against Russian forces. Zelensky will later speak with U.S. military leaders at the Pentagon and meet with Vice President Joe Biden at the White House. This is Zelensky's second trip to the U.S. Capitol since Russia's invasion, and it comes as Vice President Biden asks Congress for an additional $24 billion to help Ukraine. On Thursday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky returned to Washington for a quick one-day visit, where he was met with resistance from Republicans who are questioning the continuation of the U.S. aid that has kept his troops fighting against Russian forces for the past 19 months. Western support for Kyiv has drawn international attention, so Zelensky has arrived at the Capitol to meet with Republican and Democratic leaders in private. In addition to speaking with Pentagon officials, he will meet with Vice President Joe Biden at the White House. Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, welcomed Zelensky to the building. Notably, Republican leaders in the House, who had previously promised to grill Zelensky with tough questions about his strategy for moving Ukraine's war effort forward, decided against joining in the on-camera greeting of the Ukrainian president. Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee Michael McCaul said Thursday that Zelensky told lawmakers that he's winning. McCaul told reporters, "The majority of the majority support this," but added that confidence in a clear strategy for victory for Ukraine was necessary. McCaul argued that a war of attrition would not be successful. Putin would like that. He plans to weaken the resolve of the United States and Europe. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Zelensky has made 2 trips to the nation's capital to lobby for the additional $24 billion that President Biden has requested from Congress to cover the country's military and humanitarian needs. Hours before Zelensky's arrival at Congress, Russia launched its heaviest strikes in a month, pounding cities across Ukraine with missiles and artillery, killing 3, setting fires, and damaging energy infrastructure. John Kirby, a spokesman for the National Security Council, referred to the Ukrainian president as our best messenger in convincing American lawmakers to continue providing critical funding and weapons. It's really important for members of Congress to be able to hear directly from the president about what he's facing in this counteroffensive, Kirby told reporters on Wednesday. And how he's achieving his goals, and what he needs to continue to achieve those goals. Despite political divisions at home, Biden has urged international leaders to support Ukraine. Biden's chief rival in the 2024 presidential election is former President Donald Trump, who is leading a hard right flank of Republicans that is increasingly opposed to sending more money overseas. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and top intelligence officials briefed senior lawmakers behind closed doors on Wednesday to argue the case for Ukraine as the White House worked to shore up support for the country before Zelensky's visit. Zelensky faces difficulties on both the European and Western fronts as the once solid Western alliance in support of Ukraine shows signs of fraying. The trade dispute between Poland and Ukraine has escalated, and late Wednesday, the Polish Prime Minister said his country would no longer send arms to Ukraine. This seemed intended to pressure Kyiv. U.S. and international leaders are currently watching Ukrainian forces fight to reclaim territory lost to Russia over the past year, which coincides with Zelensky's visit. Their success in the next month or so, before the rains come and the ground turns to mud, may be crucial to enlisting more international support throughout the winter. If Russian President Vladimir Putin detects that Ukraine is low on air defense or other weapons, he will take advantage because he thinks he can outlast Allied support for Kyiv. Most members of Congress voted in favor of 4 installments of aid to Ukraine since the conflict began, totaling about $113 billion. They see protecting Ukraine and its democracy as crucial, especially in light of the need to keep Putin in check. A portion of that funding was used to restock frontline U.S. military equipment. Arizona Democrat Senator Mark Kelly, who visited Kyiv this week, said it would be catastrophic to cut off U.S. aid during the Ukrainians' counteroffensive. That would clearly be the opening that Putin is looking for, Kelly said on Wednesday. Without our help, they won't make it. Since Zelensky, on his first trip outside of Ukraine since the war began, addressed Congress in December 2017, much has changed politically. He was greeted with thunderous applause as he spoke of his country's valor and unexpected success in battle. On Thursday, he met with senators in a closed-door session in the old Senate chamber, a historic and intimate space at the U.S. Capitol, a fitting venue given the high regard in which the Senate holds the visiting foreign leader. On his visit to the Senate, the Ukrainian leader was greeted more warmly by members of both parties. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Leader Chuck Schumer stood on either side of the president as he entered the chamber. A few members of both parties sported outfits in the Ukrainian flag's blue and yellow. On the other side of the Capitol, Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy held a separate meeting with Zelensky with a smaller bipartisan group of lawmakers and committee chairmen because he faces more opposition within his Trump-aligned ranks to supporting Ukraine. McCarthy had previously told reporters, "I will have questions for President Zelensky," in anticipation of the upcoming visit. The Speaker of the House has stated his desire for greater oversight of the funds already approved for Ukraine by the United States. And, as McCarthy put it, what is the plan for victory? Nonetheless, Republican leader Mitch McConnell is a staunch advocate for Kyiv in the Senate, and he has been at the forefront of efforts to ensure that both the president and his party maintain their strong backing for Ukraine. Before the senators' closed-door briefing on Wednesday, McConnell urged Biden to ensure that the administration's top brass makes a more forceful case in support of Ukraine. This would allow Congress to send Zelensky the resources he needs to win the war, according to McConnell. "I sometimes get the sense that I speak more about Ukraine matters than the president does," McConnell said in a speech on Wednesday.